1.
0.
0.
Blast off.
Woo!
Welcome to the Book Pub Podcast. This is a podcast where two women who are stuck in a snowstorm and waiting for the world to open up again talk about authors and the books that they wrote.
I know. I mean, like, pros and cons to that snowstorm, side note, is that with, like, the COVID lockdown, it's like, okay, we couldn't do anything anyway, so now it's like double, but I think it's making me go a little loopy because it's double. I thought it was like a pro, but it's kind of like, now I'm loopy, but I don't know.
That's funny. I felt like I was all like, yeah, I've prepared for this shit. I know how to, like, deal with a lockdown, buy a bunch of food at the grocery store, like, get ready. Like, can't leave my house. Already can't leave my house.
You're already stuck, so yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, it was an early snowstorm.
Yeah. So, yeah, we talk about books and authors and enjoy a cocktail while we do it.
Exactly. That's us in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
Crack. You've opened us up.
Yes.
Anyway, hi, Leslie. How are you? I miss you.
I'm doing great, Madeline. Oh, I missed you, too.
I know. We haven't really seen each other much.
We had a snowstorm, so.
We had a snowstorm, and, yeah, things were just, like, not happening.
Crazy.
So,
yeah.
I missed you. Your face is pretty.
Your face is pretty.
Oh, stop it.
You have, like, makeup on and everything.
I know. It's because,
kids.
This is weird.
School.
This is weird, but I don't wear makeup, as you know, on a regular. But when I put on, like, readings for my kids,
Oh, yeah.
I put makeup on.
That makes sense.
They're kids. They don't care. But I just feel this need to, like, look my best for the children. For everybody else, I'm like, I don't care. But for the children, I want to look my best.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I felt that way when I was, like, at Disneyland and I'd be, like, hosting, you know? I'm not even, like, in a pretty costume or something, and it's just, like, I still feel like I need to wear makeup because kids like your face better or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like you're a little bit more approachable. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Because they can't tell, like, they don't really know the makeup thing. So it's just like, you just look pretty. And they're like, oh, I like your face. You're so cute.
No, it's really weird.
I want to listen to you.
Yeah, and you know.
Tell me things.
You know I don't put on makeup when my father looks at me and just goes, you put on makeup today? Just like that, like really surprised. I was with children today. I know. It's so weird. But yeah, on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays when I'm with the children, I put on makeup.
Nice. Yeah.
So, literature, adults. I need to, like,
adult literature. And we're going to go into a full other place than reading to kids. This is not kid stuff.
I know, because I've been reading a lot of kids books, so now I'm ready for, like, give me some adult books, man.
Yeah.
So who are we going to talk about? Who are we going to adult with today?
We are adulting with Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand. Sorry. When I think about how I have to pronounce the first name, I always end up screwing up on the last name, just because it's just like, okay, Ayn, it rhymes with mine, and then Rand, just how it is, Rand. But I always want to do Ayn Rand, you know.
Yeah, you want to do a rhymey thing.
Yeah. Ayn Rand.
So,
yes,
I'm really excited about this. I have no idea who this person is. So you're actually like, you have to pretend like we are actually talking to someone with zero knowledge of Ayn, because I used to say Anne.
Yeah.
Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand.
Yes.
It is hard. So lay it on me. Who is this person? Why do we care?
Okay, we care. She is an author best known for writing 2 books that half of all college students own but have never read. That is Atlas Shrugged and The Fountainhead. And for creating
I love that you said that so much because here's why I have zero knowledge of her.
Yeah.
I'm a lit person. I totally have a lot of lit friends. But when people talked about her, they just end up like this, like super pretentious, like, and I just shut down. So I have actually just was like, I've felt like I've been repelled by this author because it's just like so much pretentiousness was surrounding her, and I'm not a pretentious, like I don't like things that are like elevated status because they
look at how smart I am because I talk about this person.
I'm like I I mean, I'm a very well-read person. I love literature, but I'm not going to sit there and rub it in your face because I read something that you didn't, or you're not.
You don't know.
Oh, you don't know this author. Oh my God, you're not well-read. If you're a well-read person, it just drives me crazy. I just like books.
Yeah.
Sue me. I just like freaking books.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and so the fact that you say that all those pretentious college kids that I was turned off by. Actually,
they probably didn't read it. No, and seriously, like even
it's hilarious.
Like even on the website, it's all like, oh, it's sold like 22 million copies, and she has thousands of followers, and I'm just like, wait, those numbers? That's not good odds, man. Like if you sold 22 million copies of a book, but you only have a couple thousand followers, like, sorry, but it kind of makes me think that a lot of people didn't read it.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, right? Yeah.
You know, if you have like 2 million people following you on Instagram, but you only get like 20 likes, that's not good numbers.
No, that's really bad numbers. That's hilarious. So thank you for giving me validation as a person who I consider myself well-read, but not to these like pretentious levels. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all good. And so today we're drinking a cocktail that I invented for Ayn Rand, and I'm calling it the Shrugged Off, which is kind of a play on Atlas Shrug.
We're going to have fun with this one. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So it is 1.5 parts vodka, 0.75 parts Saint Germain or elderflower liqueur, a big squeeze of lemon juice, a few muddled pieces of rosemary, and then you put it all in a shaker with ice and shake it up and pour it into a glass. And it should kind of have a muddy yellowish color to it. So
yeah, it's like an opaque yellow, I would say.
Yeah, it's a little, muddy yellow.
It smells good.
Yeah.
It smells like floral-y, like a citrus floral. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say, no, don't take offense to this, but like it tastes like good bar soap, like for the shower, like luxury bar soap. And like some luxury bar soaps, actually you do want to eat them. Or is that just me?
Especially
should I not be saying this out loud?
Especially when they look like cupcakes or something.
Yeah,
I'm like, why did you do this?
And it smells so good, and it's like pretty colors. I'm like, I just want to nibble on this.
I know.
I don't eat soap.
I just really want to know what it tastes like, but I'm not going to even like lick it because it's just like, that's crazy. Don't do that.
Don't do that. But I'm tempted.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So like this is that kind of like luxury bar soap situation.
Yeah, l'chaim.
But I get to actually consume it and not die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, I like it. It's smooth yet citrusy. But also some vodka.
And also a lot of vodka. Yes.
I sadly don't taste too much rosemary.
Yeah, I was thinking too, like maybe since
it's there in the smell, but
yeah, maybe like I would infuse the vodka with the rosemary, overnight or something, and maybe that would make it a little bit more. Yeah. So
ooh,
I debated doing that, but I didn't.
Oh my God. Then you can have this with that rosemary bread we were talking about. Rosemary bread with some olive oil and this cocktail. Oh, honey, you got your night set. Done.
That's all I need is just some cheese, some bread, and a good cocktail, and that's my dinner.
Oh my God, right? Hello, French.
Yeah.
It's luxury.
All right.
Okay, let's dive in.
Yes. Alyssa Vinovina Rosenbaum was born February 2nd, 1905 in St. Petersburg, Russia. That's right. She was originally born Alyssa Rosenbaum.
Okay, so this girl is born with like a basic bitch name and decides to go to Ayn Rand? Wait, what is it?
Ayn
Rand?
Ayn Rand.
Oh my God, even that just starts off with the pretentiousness that is this whole embodiment. Okay.
I like Alyssa Rosenbaum. I think it's a cute name. I would name a character Alyssa Rosenbaum. Oh yeah, my best friend from college, Alyssa Rosenbaum, she like lives in Brooklyn now and has a cute little like beagle dog and designs children's clothes or something.
Right? Yeah, I love the name Alyssa Rosenbaum. Totally. But it's more of like your basic easygoing name.
Yeah.
Totally good name.
Yeah.
Love it. It has a ring to it.
Mm-hmm. And then,
But then you go from that to Ayn
Rand. Ayn Rand. So, her parents were Jewish and part of the Russian bourgeoisie. Her father was a successful pharmacist and a self-made man, having worked his way from nothing to the middle class, which was a difficult thing being Jewish in Russia in the early 20th century. So
yeah.
So he was well accomplished.
Yeah, power story.
Yeah. Her mother was very religious and a socialite. Rand was the oldest of 3 sisters. She went to a prestigious school as a child, but for the most part was, quote, socially isolated, which I gather means that she didn't have a lot of friends, and she spent most of her time writing and reading because she claims that when she was 9 years old, she knew that she wanted to be a writer someday. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the foundation's there.
Yeah. And both of her parents supported that idea for her. They're both like, cool, you want to be a writer? That's amazing, you know? Like, do it, girl.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Not the typical story we hear.
No. Especially with Russia in the early 19th century, or 20th century.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her and her best friend would hang out and debate politics, like whether it was better to have a constitutional monarchy or a republic. Now, mind you, almost everything that is about her childhood comes from basically her. There's not like other people saying like, oh yeah, when I grew up with her. So, because I think that's weird. I think it's weird that some kids are sitting around being all like, you know what? I think just a republic is so much better than like the monarchy that we have in place right now. What do you think, Penelope?
Alyssa, can't we just go and like do kid stuff? Like, let's go do cartwheels in the park. Yeah. No, you want to sit and smoke cigarettes and drink coffee?
Yes, exactly. I imagine this little 9-year-old just being like, you know,
let's talk about this.
The constitutional monarchy is not a good system of government. It doesn't really help the people.
Swigging vodka, slowly spiraling into total drunken outrageousness against the government.
Yeah.
Hi, you're 9. Most kids are definitely just playing with toys.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it's like, I mean, I guess there's a lot going on politically, so it is sort of like, you know, you hear what your parents are saying or whatever, but it still seems weird to be like, yes, we debated, you know, politics. So as opposed to being like, Trump sucks, yay, I'm going to go play with Play-Doh.
Yeah, okay, because that's actually what happens.
Yeah, that happens.
So, yeah, because, like, in school, like, an incident happened where it was just like they just started chanting random political things. I'm like, you guys don't actually know what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't even know.
That makes more sense.
This doesn't even make sense. And then snowballs started flying and detentions.
You're such a Trump. I'm not a Trump. You're a Trump.
Yeah, exactly. Not. Let's talk about it. What is the structural value of our monarchy and how does it outweigh the Constitution?
Yes, I don't know about the economic system that's going on in the community right now.
It's like, God, you're 9.
Yeah.
Oh, children.
Yeah.
Oh,
so.
Ayn.
Yeah. Her father was very supportive of her, constantly telling her that she was special and highly intelligent and meant to do great things one day. Her mother, was also very supportive, but they didn't get along. She found her mother to be overbearing, obsessed with her social status, and too devoted to religious beliefs that Rand found to be irrational. In 1917, during the Russian February Revolution, she was 12, and she claims to have witnessed seeing some of the first shots that occurred in St. Petersburg, because that revolution was where essentially it was a hunger strike. Or not a hunger strike, sorry. It was a protest against food rationing. 1,300 people died, and then 8 days later, Nicholas II abdicated the Russian monarchy.
And Anastasia went missing.
Yeah, and then a little bit later she goes missing.
Sorry, that's what I know.
Like, oh yeah, Anastasia.
And there's a bat named Dimitri.
Yes.
Trying to adult here, and even then, it's like I'm bringing up cartoons from Disney or DreamWorks.
Ayn Rand would never bring up Disney cartoons in the middle. When she was even at 9 years old, she would never bring up Disney cartoons or any cartoons. How dare an adult do that when we're talking about her?
Right? Oh, God. Okay. Putting these, but that's what I know of the
I know.
Like, I just also know that Anastasia was also, I think, born on my birthday, June 18th. So like, nice. I was like, whoop whoop, that's cool. But hey, she goes missing. So
yeah.
That's all.
So, and so she was kind of she was a big supporter of this revolution because it's kind of also seen as the Alexander Kerensky revolution. He was the guy who wanted to enact a republic at the time in Russia. and probably because her father was a big supporter of this idea. But then later in 1917, you have the Bolshevik Revolution, where, you know, people were unsatisfied with like the provisional government that was in charge for like 5 seconds. And so then you have like Lenin and Trotsky and all those people coming in and being like, we're now in charge, you know, and then the country breaks out into a civil war, and those guys get all paranoid and they start like killing everybody who disagrees with them. And it's really bad. And it's a shitty time to be in Russia. So,
I mean... I won't say it in case any Russians are listening. But I do have to say, I love Russian names.
Yeah.
Saying Russian names, like reading, I love Dostoevsky. And I just even love saying Dostoevsky. Yeah, Anna Karenina. I just, Tolstoy. Chekhov. It's just like, yeah, they're fun names.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know, when you're reading like Russian literature or whatever, and you're like, I don't know how to say that name, and so then you just sign it with like a letter and just associate it with the letter. I'm like, no, I'll say it because they're fun.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So excuse me. So then the Decree of Land was enacted in Russia, which meant that all property and bank accounts were now owned by the government. So the people supported this because they believed that by putting everything under government control, it would ultimately benefit the people. That was part of their whole like socialist, Bolshevik communism that was going on, right? Rand witnessed armed soldiers confiscate and nationalize her father's pharmacy. And this was a very significant moment for Rand in her life. She would never forget the look on her father's face, saying, quote, I felt the way that he looked. His was one of hopelessness, murderous frustration, and indignation, but he could do absolutely nothing. So after that, her family, because also, you know, it's civil war, everything's breaking out, it's horrible, you know, in St. Petersburg, her family moves to the Crimea Peninsula, where Rand attended high school, or finished up high school. And while there, in her last year of high school, she learned about American history, and she totally fell in love with the idea of America, believing it to be the perfect model of what freedom could be. She had a real love for like Western culture. She would spend a lot of her time watching American and German films when they were allowed. And at this point, she became an atheist, seeing the religious belief in sacrifice and altruism was no different than the communism that she was experiencing. Like the idea that we're doing all of these things for the collective good, but really it means that like you have people who are taking control of everything and not giving anything to anyone else, you know, that telling everyone else, like, you need to sacrifice, and then you just have people having these ulterior motives. So she saw religion kind of the same way as that.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah, isn't it?
It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, where it's religion. Like, oh, well, if these people, what I'm witnessing, you know, that's happening in my world, then how is it that this is any different? I'm kind of seeing it as the same. And so maybe they also have nefarious, like, you know, motives going on. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So then her family moved back to Petrograd, which was now what they're calling St. Petersburg. And they were extremely destitute because her father refused to take a job with the Soviet government, exclaiming, quote, I will never work for them, not now and not ever, not even if we starve. And
wow, that's hardcore beliefs right there.
Yeah, and they basically did. Like, they, you know, would regularly go without any food, and yeah, she was in like near starving conditions like a lot of that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's some like, to watch your family starve,
yeah,
just to hold your
beliefs that you
wow,
hate the government.
That's intense, man.
Yeah.
Don't let your children starve.
You know, yeah, I know, yeah. But yeah, I mean, and that was probably very influential to her too. Like the idea that it's just like to hold on to your beliefs so strongly that you're willing to starve and let your children starve.
Yeah.
In 1924, she was part of the first group of women allowed to enroll at the university, where she majored in history and first studied Aristotle. Before she could graduate, though, she was purged from the university because that was a thing that they did to students who were part of the elite class. And even though it was like 7 years ago, you know, like she was technically still part of like the elite class.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's shitty.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really sorry for her.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then she enrolled in the State Institute and studied screenwriting, deciding that's what she wanted to do for a living. And a lot of her early work, like screenplays and stuff that she wrote, is like Russian science fiction and these stories of like heroes and rebels and, you know, fun things like that. So she ended up graduating.
What year?
1926.
So this is still like pretty early in the film industry too. So that's cool that it's like
she's like, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to get into film.
Yeah, even though that's still like
it's new,
a very new thing to want.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So in 1926, she went to visit her family in Chicago, on a visiting family visa, whatever kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But let's be real. Like, her plan was, I'm moving to the United States. Like, this is my dream. This is the place where I want to go. Mm-hmm. You know? So, yep. Where's my place? Yeah. So, yeah, because she decided to move to the United States because that was, quote, this is the only country based on my moral premises, the only country where one can be fully free to write. And so she thought it was just going to be the best opportunity. And plus also she was like totally obsessed with like Western culture stuff and all of that anyway. So it's like, this is my dream. When Rand arrived in New York City, it was a snowy, foggy day. She looked at the Manhattan skyline, composed with some of the tallest and most magnificent skyscrapers at the time, and, quote, Rand thought the most beautiful skyscrapers in the world represented an astonishing display of American inventiveness, energy, economic aspiration, and engineering talent. They were the will of man made visible, or the finger of God, she thought. In a rare display of emotion, she began to cry at the sight of them. Her tears were tears of splendor.
Aww. The American dream.
Yeah.
How cute.
Here I am. American dream. And check out this badass skyline.
Yeah, and everything that she's gone through, it's just like that idea of the hope, and that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I take it she wrote that too.
Yeah, she wrote. Yeah, some of that stuff is. Yeah, and also, I mean, a lot of the quotes I'm doing here, it's either straight from her or it's from this one book by this woman, Anne Heller, because I felt like her book was the most unbiased on either end. It was the most objective book.
Okay.
Unless I say otherwise, it's probably from those things. So she stayed in Chicago for like 6 months with her relatives who happened to own a movie theater where she spent most of her time watching American movies for free in order to help improve her English. She watched almost 200 films within 6 months, and this may be why a lot of her writing is filled with 1920s slang and phrases outside of also a very like formal style that she has.
Okay.
Because that's like how she learned English. It's like,
being
like, hey, honey, what's going on? How's it shaking?
How's it shaking, kid? Yeah. I feel like that's 40s, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know 20 slang.
I haven't watched a lot of 20s movies.
Yeah. This is also when she adopted the name Ayn Rand full time. She formed the name while she was at school, but now in America, she felt that it was a more professional sounding name. And also, it was a way to avoid immigration officials who might try to track her down when her visa expired.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Those are the two best explanations I've heard. There's other people who are like, oh, it's based off of this and it's taken from this and da-da-da-da. But it's like, none of that actually really makes sense. And so it's like, I'm just going to go with like, no, you change your name to something that you think is cool and professional sounding, and so that you can avoid immigration. Yeah.
Yeah.
So according to her relatives in Chicago, Rand rarely spoke about her childhood in Russia or her family unless she was asked directly. They had no idea about the dire situation that the family was left in. She would mainly talk about her future and her plans to move to Hollywood. Quote, she never talked about her family or the things that were going on in Russia. The Chicago family had enough money. They could have saved her parents' lives if they had known. Later on in life, it was typical for her to say things that she was like, for instance, quote, born in Europe or graduated from, quote, a European college, like making it seem like she didn't even want to say the word Russia even anymore. Like she just didn't want to have any association with her past. And it was all about nope, I'm going to Hollywood. I'm going to be a big shot. You know, I'm moving on. Like, past is the past. We're done with that.
Okay. Clean slate.
Yeah.
I can respect that.
In a letter she wrote while still in Chicago to a friend back in Russia, she said, quote, "The only thing that remains for me is to rise. I'm doing it with my characteristic straight line decisiveness." So, like, very early on in life, it's clear she began to take a very, like, stoic position.
And she's definitely got that type A personality, I can tell.
Yeah.
She's one of those.
Yeah, like, very much like, I'm doing this. This is me. You know, I believe in this, and I believe in myself, and I'm not going to focus on my pains and tragedies, and, you know,
moving forward.
Shoot for the stars.
Shoot for the stars. She's on the locomotion. Mm-hmm. Do the locomotion with me.
I think she did take a train to Hollywood, too.
Yeah. Perfect.
Her cousin who owned the theater was able to get a film distributor that she had worked with to write Rand a letter of recommendation to someone at Cecil B. DeMille's organization. They gave her a good amount of money, the family, so that she'd be able to settle in Hollywood, and Rand promised to repay them, telling her cousin, quote, "I will never forget you. I'll get you a Rolls Royce and a mink coat." But they never even got, like, repaid for the money that she borrowed. And after 1930, the family rarely heard from her unless it was for the, like, unless it Rand was sending them signed copies of her books. So.
Yeah.
Yay.
Talk is cheap.
Where's that coat, Rand?
I want that mink coat. Well, think about it this way. Well, a bunch of minks got to keep living.
Yeah, potentially, I guess.
Yeah. So she saved some minks' lives.
Maybe.
Maybe.
She just kept it. She's like, actually, I don't want to give this to anyone.
Really,
this
like,
is really nice.
Oh, this Rolls Royce. I know I have 4, but I could keep more.
I have one for each of my outfits. Like, come on, guys. Like,
come on.
I still have more outfits to match Rolls Royces with.
Exactly.
Okay, so there is a legendary story about Rand's first few days in Hollywood that basically goes that she shows up to the DeMille studios with her letter looking for a job, and after being rejected, she's outside in the parking lot looking all, like, sad and adorable, and, oh, I didn't get the job. And this car pulls up and rolls down the window, and DeMille's inside, and he asks her what's wrong, and she tells him that she came all the way from Russia to get a job as a screenwriter. And I can't do her voice.
It's cute.
And he tells her to, like, get in, and he gives her a ride to the set of King of Kings, which is the film that he was working on, and he gets her a job as an extra. And there's versions of the story that say that, like, she didn't know who he was until, like, she got into the car, and she's just like, "Oh, who are you?" And he's all like, "Oh, I'm Cecil B. DeMille." And, you know, and it's like, "Oh, I didn't know." But later on in life, a friend of hers half jokingly said that she probably stalked him when she first came to Hollywood. Quote, she never left a thing to chance. That would be like her.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, I believe that too. Where it's just like, come on, you have a letter, you can get on the lot. You probably are just like, you know, waiting for this car to leave, and then it's like, oh no, I'm gonna sit here and pout and look sad, and wait for him to find me.
But even then, yeah,
stick out my leg and grab his attention.
Do my big Russian bombshell hair wave thing.
Yeah. So while she's on set, she met actor Charles Francis O'Connor, who was, like, crazy hot, and she fell totally in love with him. And in fact, there's no doubt, at least in this situation, she totally stalked him. They had briefly spoken on set, like, twice. Like, she ran into him and in the line for, like, a paycheck, and it's like, "Oh, who are you? Who are you?" You know, "Oh, hi," you know. And then all of a sudden she didn't see him for, like, months. And she would tell all of the friends that she had and her, like, the place that she was living in, like, you know, "Oh, I'm so in love with this guy, and I don't know I don't know how to find him," and all of this stuff. And, you know, some of them would even be like, "Oh, well, what's his name? Maybe we can, you know, try to help find him for you." And she wouldn't tell them his name, as she was afraid that they would try to, like, take him for themselves.
Oh my gosh. Possessive.
Yeah. she even said later, quote, "It was an absolute that this was the man I wanted."
Oh,
so then
she knew what she wanted.
Yes.
She's definitely one that knows what she wants.
Mm-hmm. So then one day she's doing research for a film that she's writing for DeMille called The Skyscraper, and elements of that would be like used later on for The Fountainhead. And she stopped into the Los Angeles Library, and there's Frank O'Connor just sitting there studying, doing something. And, you know, she goes up to him and he recognizes her. And he even like admits to her that he had like told his brothers about, quote, the very interesting and funny Russian girl that he met on set. And so then they started dating.
Oh, okay. See, she gets what she wants. She knows what she wants. She goes after it. She makes it happen. Mm-hmm. I respect that. Sure, it might be a little stalkery, but let's be honest. Who hasn't stalked someone in their lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like really bad stalking. It's not like, hey, go away. I don't like you. Please leave me alone. And you still like are like hanging out their window or something. Yeah. You know, it's just like, I just need to meet this man. You know, kind of stalking. So
I really love your Russian accent. I think you need to meet this man. It's so cute.
I feel like all the Russians I know are like these cute little women, so it's like, oh.
Wow.
That's who I know.
Okay, fair enough.
So back to her career. She was a terrible screenwriter. She didn't understand character development. Her plots were always this like same kind of love triangle with like a twist, or were like just too highfalutin and not like good enough for like suitable for movies to like put on screen. And also her English still wasn't great. So none of the stories that she wrote during her time with DeMille were ever turned into movies. And so when DeMille joined MGM Studios, she wasn't offered a job to like, you know, be a part of the team that got to go on to MGM.
Okay.
So now she's 22 years old. She's been in Hollywood for a year, and, you know, and she had earlier joked with like family and everyone that like, oh, within a year, I'm going to be one of the most famous people in Hollywood. And she now has to work as like a waitress, a department store clerk, and like a door-to-door saleswoman. And like other odd jobs, I think.
Yeah. The usual. Yeah. What you do is when you run to LA to become the next big star.
Yeah, exactly. Start off with this like amazing, like, oh my God, I met DeMille, and everyone, you know, whose family in Russia is all like, yay, this is so exciting. She's going to be so famous. And then it's like a year later, it's like, I'm working as a waitress. Can I get some more money? Yeah. Like, yeah. And so, you know, her family was kind of urging her to like go back to Russia, or at least go back to Chicago. But, you know, she's dating Frank. Yeah. She's got Frank. Yeah.
Insanely hot.
Mm-hmm. And so they get married in 1929, and then she's able to gain U.S. citizenship in 1931. And I'll just say now, they stay married for 50 years, like for the rest of their lives. So,
aww.
Yeah.
Again, like that's so cool. Like she goes after what she wants.
She does.
And she keeps it.
Yeah. So then she started working for RKO in the wardrobe department and would work on her writing in her spare time. And she ended up writing a film scenario called Red Pawn, which is about a Russian prison in Siberia. And it's one of the first instances where her beliefs that every person has, quote, a right to the joy of living, and that no one has a duty to sacrifice their own interests for someone else begins to appear in her works. The script was eventually bought by Universal. Yay! And it established her as a writer. Yay!
Yay!
But it was never produced.
Oh, so close.
Yeah.
Almost so far away.
So she began to grow tired of Hollywood, calling the stories that were produced there too sentimental or silly. Or maybe it's also just because like she was never able to really catch a break with like writing scripts and things.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because she wrote this play. It was performed in LA, and it got picked up to be on Broadway. So her and Frank packed up their bags and moved to New York.
Wow.
And they end up on Broadway.
What's the play?
Oh, God. I didn't write down the title, and because she had a different title than what the title ended up becoming. It's this murder mystery courtroom drama thing. It sounds really kind of cool, and actually it was like a huge hit on Broadway at the time.
Oh, cool. So, way to go, Ayn.
Yeah.
Really wish she had stuck with Alyssa.
I know. I like Alyssa so much better.
Way to go, Alyssa.
Yeah, Alyssa, go. So I'll add that Frank at this time had some mild success as an actor in Hollywood. He started to like pick up a lot more roles and this and that, but he was totally willing to just like, you know, move to New York for her career. You know, because I kind of believe that like she married him in part because he was like her father. He was completely devoted to her and would do anything for her.
Aww.
Yeah. So she also wrote her first novel at this time called We the Living. The legend goes that at a party before she left for America, someone told her, quote, "Make sure they all know that Russia is a graveyard." So it's considered her most autobiographical piece, where Rand has even said, quote, "It's not an autobiography in the literal, but only in the intellectual sense. The plot is invented, the background is not." And so it's basically this like love story, love triangle. She loves her love triangle stories.
Yeah.
And, you know, and part of that's probably based on like, there was like a boy that she was totally in love with back in Russia, before she left. However, it was considered too anti-communist for its depictions of government seizing and nationalizing businesses and homes, the bourgeois children being kicked out of schools, the breadlines, the low standard of living in Russia, you know, all things that she actually experienced.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is too anti-communist, you know, like, I don't know if they can do anything about this.
But it's like, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, no, this is like what happened. Like,
yeah.
So it wasn't published in the U.S. until 1936, and even then, it had really low sales because it just wasn't really marketed well. And then same with like her next piece, Anthem. It's kind of a science fiction thing. She loves her science fiction too, which wasn't published in the U.S. until 1943. So then, during this time, she also began working on The Fountainhead, taking 7 years to finish the book.
So wait, quick question. The other one, her second novel, you said it was published in 1943.
Yeah.
Because she had written it in Russia, and then...
No, she wrote it right after she wrote We the Living.
Uh-huh.
So she wrote it in the early 30s, mid-30s, but like no one wanted to publish it. I think, again, because it's just like she wasn't famous, and also it was just like, you know, anti-communist maybe-ish, you know, just... Yeah, people weren't interested, but then, you know, they published it later after she kind of has it's a hint that things are going to change.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was like, well, when you said it wasn't published in America, so it was just straight up not published until the 40s.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't like she like sent it out to another country.
Oh, you know what? Good question. It might have been because even with like We the Living, it didn't do really well in America, but it like blew up in Europe. And even like there's some like Italians who made some movies, and she didn't even know about it until like the 60s. And she's like, that's cool. Like, I actually like these movies. They're pretty good, you know? And so, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, she probably did get sent out elsewhere.
It might have been sent out elsewhere. Yeah, I didn't really look up too much on Anthem because I was like, let me skip. I'll just skip by. You know, I gotta skip some stuff.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
It was just like a novella, and so it's like, okay, skip it.
Not important. I was just like curious about that verbiage, but
yeah. All good. Okay, so she starts working on The Fountainhead, one of her big ones, and it took her 7 years to finish the book. Okay, so The Fountainhead is best known for its hero, architecture. She loves architecture.
And the song that goes with it.
Yes.
Ayn, how do you feel about architecture? Architecture!
I got my start on Broadway.
Yep, that's how she totally expresses her love of architecture.
Can you pitch this novel to me?
Sitting down, lay it on me, Ayn. Just like jazz hands, top number, the whole shebang.
Exactly. I imagine it. I like seeing that image in my head. So, architect Howard Rourke, who it's about him, this guy, Howard Rourke, who's an architect, and she considered him the ideal man, quote, man as he could be and ought to be. He represents how individualism is always superior to collectivism, and people who don't understand that will often betray their own self-interest because of peer pressure or public interest, and that's all super, super bad because egotism always has the most integrity.
I'm sorry. Those were a lot of big words for me. Can you break that down?
It's better to be selfish than to give up your selfishness for the sake of other people.
Interesting. Okay.
Just sacrifice is bad because then you won't be happy. And the best thing you can do in life is to be happy. So it's good to give into your egoism.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't blame her for thinking that way because, you know, her dad was forced to starve the children because of the
in a sense, though, but yeah, because he was afraid of collectiveness. Yeah, so... Yeah. Communism.
So I get where she's coming from.
But then it's also like, but you also are having people starve so that you can live up to your principles. And that was, but then that's essentially what it's saying. Like, you know, it's good to do that. It's even if the children starve, it's better to stand up to your principles. Like, as long, you know, if you give in to peer pressure, if you give in to what everyone else says in the world, like there's a whole like kind of Hursty, you know, newspaper guy character who's like, he's like a good friends with, Howard, and he like is all, you know, all supportive of to him in the newspapers and stuff, and then all of a sudden all the people are like, oh, no, we don't like your paper anymore because you're being supportive of this guy that we don't like. Oh, because by the way, I should say Rourke literally in the novel gets mad that people aren't building this public housing the way that he wants the public housing building to be designed, how he designed it, so he blows it up. He literally, like, you know, Wild E.I. Coyotes, a building, public housing building, because they're not building it exactly the way that he laid out in the blueprints. And he's the hero. He's the ideal man for doing that. He's perfect and amazing. He's what every man should want to be. Every man should want to, you know, blow shit up when they don't get what they want. Right? That's how we should all live our lives. Good. Right? We're all good. I don't think you're agreeing with me. I don't know why you're not agreeing with me on this.
No. I gave it a solid thought. Spent like 0.5 seconds on it. No.
Yeah.
No. Interesting. How many pages is this novel?
The Fountainhead? I want to say Fountainhead's maybe like 700 something.
700? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like 700 pages about an architect who blows up buildings when he doesn't get his way.
Yeah.
Sounds like 700 pages of torture. So I will be skipping that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you get to that part and you're just like, the fuck did I just read? I'm sorry. Wait, and this is supposed to be the good thing? He's the good guy? Like... And, you know, and when it's he's got this whole like Aaron Sorkin kind of thing going on at the end where like he's in the court and he gives a great speech. And so then he's found not guilty of blowing up a public housing building because he's such a great speaker. And I'm just like, oh, gross. Oh, this got even grosser.
She loved her characters too much.
Yeah. 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 Huh. Yeah. She considered him the most rational, perfect person ever.
As you say with a British accent.
I know, I switched to that because I was like, it's not a real quote. So,
which is interesting because I'm actually reading this book right now, Geography of Bliss by Eric Weiner, and he each chapter he travels to these happy countries and he contemplates, and I really want to reread it and take notes in it. and he talks about like happiness. So 2 things I want to say is that he definitely says that the people who volunteer the most, so who are part of the collective, are actually the happiest people.
Yeah.
And then number 2, that Britain is actually more of a collectivism government, that it's more important that the many are happy and not the few. So that's interesting that you used a British accent because that's the antithesis of what she's saying.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So I just find like having that in my brain with this in my brain, it's all like there's a crash course happening. I'm confused.
Yes. Yeah. The book is a huge success. I mean, not right away. It's not like one of those, boom, all of a sudden it became a success. It came out and then like 2 years later, it like exploded because of like word of mouth, where you have all these people reading it and they're just like giving it to all their friends and everyone's like, oh my God, you have to read this book. You have to read this. And so all of a sudden it becomes this huge, huge success 2 years after she published it, which I actually think is like way more cool than like just having
instant success. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, remember that book?
Yeah. Yeah. So because of her success, she sold the movie rights and returned to Hollywood to write the screenplay, in addition to signing a multi-year contract to write other new screenplays and things. So they go back to Hollywood.
Yeah. She's not giving up.
Yeah.
She knows what she wants.
Yeah.
She
she's
wants
like,
to be a big old screenwriter.
Mm-hmm, going back. I'm going to have my star on the Walk of Fame.
Now we can use these accents because it's definitely the 40s now.
Yes, exactly.
So time-wise, chronologically, we're okay. She's going to be a big fat star, you hear?
Yes.
Wait, does she have a star on the Walk of Fame?
I don't know, actually. I was just thinking that, too. I was like, I wonder if she has a star. You have to, like, pay for your own star. Those people pay for their own stars, and they have to, like, you know, write a letter, like an essay, like a college essay, essentially why they have to get their star. It's a whole thing. It's a whole process. So I feel like I don't know if she ever got a star during her time. Like, I don't feel like I don't know. Who knows? I don't know if Trump has a star, so it's like, it wouldn't be weird if Ayn Rand had her star.
Yeah.
So... that's a good thing to look up at some point.
Yeah.
Someone's screaming at me right now in the future with the podcast. I can hear it.
Yelling at you.
Yeah, they scream so loud that like I can hear it in the past now. They're past.
Fast forwarding to now.
So I should add, somewhere around this time her parents died. It was like the early 40s, late 30s. Okay. They were in their 70s, and I believe they died of natural causes.
Probably didn't have like the greatest health since like starvation.
Yeah. But I will say that the Atlas Society, which is one of the pro-Rand kind of organizations that are out there, there's two that are like the main ones, and this is one of the main ones. The Atlas Society mentions that they died during the Nazi siege on Leningrad / St. Petersburg, but they don't say how. And I feel like that's it just seems like a weird way to be like, they died during the Nazi siege in Leningrad. And it was like, but then I read it somewhere else that they died of natural causes. And I looked it up and I'm like, wait, they're in like their mid to late 70s. So it's sort of like,
like it's just like coincidental timing.
Yeah,
like they died of natural causes, but like things were happening.
Yeah, and I feel like they're trying to make it sound like something happened, you know. But I don't actually know, because then I was like, obviously, then I doom scrolled like searching through and trying to find somewhere that mentioned how her parents died, and I cannot find it at all. I'm very curious, actually. I'm like, well, did they die because Nazis took over, you know, St. Petersburg, or what happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, so it's kind of sad because it's a sad time because, you know, obviously they're amazingly supportive of her, you know.
Wait, and they died at the same time?
That's what I'm confused. It's like I think somewhere else I read, and I couldn't find it later when I tried to like go back and find it. So I wasn't able to then like cross-check, double-check, whatever. That like, I believe her dad died in 1939 and her mom died in 1941. But again, it was like, I'm not sure.
So they're not, it wouldn't be the same day. Like, yeah. Clearly
that's where I was like, natural causes of some sort or illnesses or something.
Dying a couple years apart makes sense
to me. Yeah, it's not just because the Nazis came. Yeah. You know, but I was like, weird that this group was like. It is
easy to blame the Nazis. So
yeah, let's just blame the Nazis. Nazis killed Ayn Rand's parents.
Let's make it easy on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah. But yeah, so that happens, and that's kind of sad because, you know, like they were so supportive. Every time she would like write to them and send them her stuff, like her mom would even be like, you know, like, oh my gosh, you're a better writer than Shakespeare, and like, you know,
I love it. You know? Even though she didn't even get along with her mom that well.
I mean, she just found her mom to be kind of oppressive. So, or overbearing, you know. And I think she disagreed with her mom a lot because she's like, I'm a hardcore atheist and my mom's like super religious, like teenage angst that lives with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So not real hefty problems, just
more just like,
I'm just gonna be cool and just like have mommy issues, but like only slight mommy issues, because my mom's actually awesome. She really supports me.
But I love you, dear. Whatever, Mom. Stop loving me so much.
Your writing is like better than Shakespeare.
Oh gosh.
You're the earth, and it walks. You walk on the earth, and it floats in the air. That's you.
I know, Mom. Oh God, moms are just the worst, don't you think so?
I
just kind of hate
my
moms.
darling. Do you want me to just give you some more cigarettes and vodka so you can talk about politics like you did at 9?
Look at this. Like, then she just gives me everything that I want all the time.
It's weird here.
Yeah. So now it's the 1940s.
And we're going to be doing our newspaper accents.
So we've got McCarthy era happening, right? We got the Hollywood blacklist, you know. And this turns out to be a great time for someone like Rand, who was previously considered too anti-communist.
Yeah. She's like, oh, this is my time.
Yeah. Hey, Hollywood, I'm back.
I'm here and I'm out there.
Yes. So she became involved in the free market activism and anti-communist activism. She was a member of the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals, which was founded in order to show that there were people in the entertainment industry willing to testify before Congress and, like, you know, name names and shit, and, you know, of those who were associated with the Communist Party in America. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, again, like, I don't fault her.
Yeah.
When you grow up being oppressed
Oh, sure. No,
by
I get it.
the communist regime in Russia, and then having your dad react in such a way where you might be sitting there thinking that you're really clever as a 9-year-old, but you don't really understand it. You're just being inundated with your dad's views. But again, like, he lost everything because of communism. It's like, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And she escaped America to not be in the communist.
Yeah, not deal with any sort of bread lines and starving.
Thank you. That's what that motion was. I'm just like flailing my arms trying to get
bread
the
lines,
words.
Starving, low income or low standard of living. You know.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I get it. It's not great. Don't tattle on your friends. Number one rule. But like.
Snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches.
I was gonna say stitches get niches or something.
It's a lot of rhyming.
It's Ayn Rand.
There's a lot.
Welcome to the Ayn Rand hour.
I'm really impressed that you said that like 3 times now, because like I can't even say that once. Wow. Anyway, yeah, I just like, you know, being like open-minded. Like, I understand what she's saying.
Yeah.
I understand her background.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm saying like, yeah. But it's like I understand that she's had a past and she has that type A personality.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Do you want to hear some of the names of the other people who were, or here, I'm going to say something else. The group that she was part of, this whole Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals. Oh God, such a mouthful of a name.
Is there like an acronym for that one? Like LPAG, Fudges,
MPAPAI.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like exactly. There's not even like an acronym. It's not spaced properly for Anyway, so this group was considered by critics to be fascist sympathizing, anti-union, anti-Semitic, and supportive of Jim Crow laws.
Again, not great. No.
I mean, you know.
Not great.
Not great.
Not great.
Members.
I mean, if you had stopped at the whole, like, I just don't want the country to be communist because, like, I struggle with communism. Totally. I get it.
Yeah.
Then you added more. I was like, oh, never mind. Nope. No. I take it.
Yep.
I'm eating my words.
Roll that tongue back in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Members of the group that you won't be surprised to hear include John Wayne, Ronald Reagan, and Walt Disney. Members of the group that will make you realize that history is a total bummer include Barbara Stanwyck, Gary Cooper, Clark Gable, and Ginger Rogers.
Huh. Okay. I mean, yeah, I knew Disney was anti-Semitic, so
I know, that's why it's like, yeah, John Wayne, Ronald Reagan.
Did you know Disney? That they only so on Pirates of the Caribbean how they had the menorah?
What?
In the window?
I don't remember a menorah in the window on the ride.
On the ride.
Oh.
On the ride, in the burning place.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
there was a tilted over menorah.
Are they sure it's a menorah, or was it okay? Oh, anyway.
One of those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, menorah. It was over in the burning buildings.
Okay.
That end of they only actually took that out probably, I'd say, like 8 years ago.
I didn't even know it was there.
Yeah. It was like a thing, like, we all pointed to it, kind of a thing, like, that's fucked up. And the fact that it was just like it took them that long to get rid of.
Wow.
It wasn't the menorah itself was burning.
Yeah.
But it's like a menorah in a burning building.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know they put like random menorahs around on like Main Street and stuff sometimes during like Christmas, so you'd be like, oh, spot the menorahs. But I don't remember the one being in Pirates. I'll have to ask like.
Yeah, no, it was like a permanent fixture in there.
My fellow former cast members.
Yeah,
of my Disney friends.
I know you worked there. I don't know how you didn't know about this.
And I could find like every Disney, like there's a hidden Mickey on every ride. I want a hidden Mickey tattoo because I do love Disneyland. Check out my hidden Mickey. That sounds really dirty.
Well, I would do it behind my ear
or something.
Just be like, I have a hidden Mickey.
Yeah,
and not meant to be dirty, but just like I have a hidden Mickey, and then they're like, oh, where? Like,
yeah.
Right there.
Or get it like somewhere on the bottom of your foot. So,
yeah.
Kind of like Buzz Lightyear, like where he has Andy written on the bottom of his
feet. Oh, that'd be cute.
Yeah. So it's like.
Yeah. So like good stuff about Disney. But yeah, there's definitely, and we all know that he was very anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why it's not surprising he's part of this group.
Yeah.
But I found it very like a huge bummer where I'm like, oh, Ginger Rogers, like I'm a dancer and I love her. No, don't tell me this. Clark Gable. I'm like, oh man, come on. Come on, history, stop sucking.
I mean,
I hate learning things.
I know. But again, at the same time, it was a different time.
Yeah.
And so maybe they were just there for the anti-communist movement and not necessarily for everything else.
Right. Or just being look,
no,
we're the good kids. We want to be seen as the good kids. It could have been something like that.
Yeah, where it's like, we don't really believe it, but we just want to be like the good kids. Yep.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me the gold star.
Yeah. Or, pressured by the studios they work for because they're, you know what I mean? Like, because I did see, like, definitely looking at it, I was like, oh, there's definitely specifically, like, people who work together. All these people end up working together. And then all these people work together and, like, they're both part of the different groups. And I'm like, that's very telling, Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say hopeful. And that, like, it's either, like, a goody two-shoes or that they were threatened to. Because, like, a lot of that happened during the McCarthy era. And, like, some people just aren't brave enough. And I know that sounds bad, but it is true. Like, sometimes it's just, like, when faced with, like, you're going to lose everything unless you join this group. And they'll be like, fine, I'll just join it.
Yeah.
And then they just sit quietly in the back of the room or something.
Right.
Which isn't great, but it still doesn't mean that they believe it, which is a step above, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So Rand wrote a pamphlet for this group. It's titled Screen Guide for Americans. Are you already upset just knowing that it's going to be horrible? It includes such gems as the importance of not glorifying the common man because it's communist doctrine. Don't talk about common people. Don't make a common person your hero of the story. American is not common. America and Americans are amazing individuals who are not common people. Or, quote, don't preach the superiority of public ownership as such over private ownership. Or, quote, if the villain in your story happens to be rich, don't permit a line of dialogue suggesting that he's a typical representative of the whole social class, the symbol of the rich. Keep it clear that his villainy is not due to his wealth and class. And, quote, don't drool over weaklings as conditioned by, quote unquote, victims of circumstance who, quote unquote, couldn't help it. you are actually providing an excuse and an alibi for the worst instincts in the weakest members of your audience. Don't let people think that it's okay to just fly by like, oh, I was born poor and therefore that's why things suck, or my house burned down and that's why I have nowhere to live.
You know, I take comfort in something with this. Here's what I take comfort in.
Yeah.
Clearly no one paid attention.
I
know. You're like, don't make the rich person the villain. Like, okay, now I can name at least 6 movies off the top of my head.
Even from back then, like even from like the 40s and 50s, it's just like, it's like everyone just looked at that and they're like, this is trash.
Yeah. So I took comfort in that the whole time. You're like, okay, I was like, okay, I'm bracing myself. I'm ready. Yeah. And you know, I'm like, well, no, movies are like this. Nope. Okay. Never mind. No one listened. Perfect.
I know, exactly. I mean, yeah, no, and it took me a while to find the actual brochure that she wrote. It's the only place I could find it was like the University of Michigan website and like their library or something. So it was like very obscure. It's like no one, I think everyone threw it away.
Yeah, well, this is garbage.
But that's what she wrote. She wrote about that, you know, that like this is a way to avoid being a communist is make sure you don't villainize rich people. You don't talk about how great common man people are. And nobody is a victim of circumstances. Like, you know, that's just letting people be weak, and you don't want people to be weak. That's, you know, horrible.
It just doesn't make sense though to me, because it's like, it's not like, just because you glorify common people doesn't necessarily make you communist.
That's what the communists do. They talk about how great the common man is, so don't do it. Mm-mm.
Yeah, but so does democracy.
Nope, no, we don't. In America, everyone's amazing. We're perfect. We're the best. We're the absolute best. I don't get to do any more Trump impressions, so I really want to do it more.
No, you don't. We're done. You got started too late. It's done. He's been impeached. He's like wiped out. Like it's DONE done.
Who's Trump?
It's Trump.
Yeah. So, yeah. So also during this time, you have a lot of writers looking to unionize and wanting to have collective bargaining power for, you know, fair pay and protect their copyrights, all that stuff that's sort of normal. You know, for instance, Dorothy Parker was someone who was a part of that group. So Rand and others formed the American Writers Association, which was in opposition to these groups. So basically, they're a group of people who are all like, we don't want to be a group, so we're going to form a group.
Okay. Yeah,
yep.
Totally.
Like, I'm sorry, we don't want to be a part of like the Screenwriters Guild or the Writers Guild of America. This is not good. This is bullshit. We are the American Writers Association saying that we hate this writer union group shit. It's crap. We don't want it.
It's like having...
Come to our meeting next Wednesday, 5 p.m. Someone's going to bring cookies.
I'll bring coffee.
Yeah. Yay!
It makes me think of the How I Met Your Mother situation where it's like they have the what's the thing where you talk to people so that they stop doing something?
The police? I don't know.
No, it's like a group when your friends gather together and they're like, look, we're really worried.
Oh, intervention.
Yeah, it's like they had the intervention for interventions. It's just like so counterintuitive.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know like anything. Like, so it's kind of like that. Like, yeah, this group is so counterintuitive.
Yeah. It's like, you know, we don't like the idea of unionizing. So you know what we should do? We should find everyone who doesn't want to unionize and we will form an association together to tell everyone how we don't want to be a part of a collective body of people and writers. Oh, by the way, only writers can be a part of this group. Let's see if we can get any more.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We're not going to call ourselves a group. We're just like a group. But we're not, don't call us a group, but we're a group.
We'll do group in quotes.
Yes,
you know?
group. Yeah. We'll put it like in italics.
Yeah.
Little,
so then people know that we're just like, we're not really a group. We just don't have another word for it because we're just people together collectively interested in the same idea.
And having bi-monthly meetings.
But that's really hard to say, you know, to say a collective of individuals who want to, or not a collective, we don't want to say collective either, individuals who have agreed upon not having a group mentality.
But we get together.
Yes.
For bi-monthly meetings.
Yes, absolutely.
With cookies and coffee.
Yeah. And we have a membership fee, actually, so if you wanted to, you know.
Okay, yeah, but we're not a group. We're totally not a group.
No,
of course not. Holy lolly.
She was a friendly witness for the House Committee on Un-American Activities, which she saw as, quote, calling attention to the conspiracy that was going on. You know, the conspiracy of communism being run rampant in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Even though she considered the committee members, quote, a bunch of fools. So she kind of hated all the politicians.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's like, it makes sense because she's not into governments at all, it seems like.
Yeah, and she was kind of like, her whole thing was basically like, they don't know what they're doing. This is not really the way to do it. But I think it's so great that they're calling out all of these communists because then society can kind of punish them properly. She was like, it's like original Twitter troll kind of stuff of like, let's cancel all of these people. Yeah, government, let's go. Let's cancel them. Cancel this person, that person, get them all.
Stupid cancel culture.
Yeah, she was all in that. And I don't know if you remember, but like, yeah, Dorothy Parker was interviewed by the FBI for the House, and her whole thing was, they're all like, oh, are you going to try to overthrow the government? She's like, I can't even get my dog to sit. Do you think I'm capable of overthrowing a government? Like,
my biggest one was,
she wrote A Star Is Born. Like, she's like, hello, like, how is that communist propaganda? I'm sorry. Like,
what? No, Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall were both questioned too.
Nice.
And it's like, dude, they're just like two lovebirds. Just like leave them alone. They're so cute. They had political, like,
obviously,
they were a little bit politically activist, but they were just two lovebirds.
Well, it's like, it's funny to think that, like, what actors are gonna, I mean, I know there was an actor that assassinated a president, you know, but like, still, it's like actors being like super capable of like doing terrible things to the government. Like, come on.
Well, and apples and oranges, because when that said actor killed that said president, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the technology's just changed. Like,
yeah.
He walked up to him in a theater, shot him, and then was able to run away.
Yeah, look, millions of actors, not millions, but like tons of actors tweeted out and like supported Hillary Clinton. And did she become our president? No, actors are not capable of like really creating a lot of political change. You're an actor. You're an entertainer.
Just entertain.
People get it. Like, yeah, people just see them as that. So it's like, come on. Come on.
Well, and I do get very annoyed when actors do just try to constantly push their political agenda, because it's like, I just want to be entertained by you. Just let me be entertained. Mm-hmm. If you want to be a political activist, fine. Then stop acting in movies that contradict most of your beliefs. Like, it's a little, again, everything here is just counterintuitive.
Yeah. So how are we doing on time right now?
I don't know, but your blanket's amazing. I'm sorry, I'm cold.
It's okay.
Okay.
Oh, it say it right there, wouldn't it?
No.
Oh, it says the beats. Oh,
yeah,
I forgot to change it.
I don't know how to change it from not beats.
The beats.
So I'm gonna say we're almost at an hour.
Okay. All right. So on that then, I feel like maybe since we're starting to get into the very not so flattering aspects of her, maybe this is a good place to
hit pause,
take a little break, and you know, make this a two-parter.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay,
we'll
pick up again next week.
Yeah, or maybe a couple days later, next week, whatever.
I'm saying next week. It might be a couple days later for us, but
or
for the audience members,
next week. I feel like we should just like record the rest, but like, you know, like take a break or something right now and be like, bye guys. And
well, how much longer do you think it'll take to record? Because I'm fading very fast.
I don't think it would take too much longer. I think it'd be okay, but I would want to,
Because I'm like,
but if this is like,
tiring.
If it's like an hour or something already, then it's probably good to
hit breaks.
Yeah, and even if it's like an hour and then another half hour, you know, I feel like it would still be better to do twos.
Okay.
We're leaving on a nice little note because next we're going to get into her Atlas Shrug and her objectivism phase. So the stuff that people love to hear about and talk about. So, come back for part 2.
Wow, this is our first 2-parter. I don't know how to end.
I don't know. Bye-ish.
Bye. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.